The difference between a comfortable financial future and living paycheck to paycheck for life is rarely income. It is mistakes. Specific, avoidable mistakes that most people make not because they are careless, but because nobody ever pointed them out clearly enough to change behavior. Most personal finance content focuses on what to do: invest in index funds, spend less than you earn, build an emergency fund. All of that is true. None of it matters if you are still making the mistakes that quietly undo every good decision you make. This video is about the other side of that conversation. 10 mistakes that financial professionals see destroy real people's financial futures, and exactly why each one is more dangerous than it looks. Mistake 1. Not earning enough. This one is uncomfortable to say because income is not entirely in your control, but ignoring it is the first mistake. No amount of frugality fixes a fundamentally low income. Financial well-being rises steadily with household income, not because money buys happiness, but because the margin for error that income creates changes every other financial decision downstream. Your ability to earn is your most valuable asset, especially when you are young. Investing in that ability through education, through learning a trade, through building skills in high-demand fields is one of the highest return moves available to most people. More education does not guarantee a higher income, but it shifts the entire distribution of what is possible. Fields like engineering, healthcare, and business have historically rewarded that investment more than others. The point is not to choose a career you hate because it pays well. The point is to take your earning potential as seriously as your investment portfolio, because it is bigger than your investment portfolio for most of your working life. Mistake 2. Not saving enough. Once income is above the minimum needed to live, the next job is saving a meaningful portion of it consistently. Academic research finds that a 10% savings rate from age 25 invested in a globally diversified stock portfolio produces retirement income above working year earnings, including Social Security. If you want to retire earlier, replace more income, or hold more conservative investments, the required savings rate climbs significantly. 10% is a floor. The earlier you start, the less painful that floor becomes. Mistake 3. Not setting real financial goals. Most people think they have financial goals. Most people, when asked directly, cannot articulate them beyond a vague direction. When researchers prompt people properly using structured categories like relationships, meaning, accomplishment, and vitality, the goals people identify become fundamentally different from the surface-level ones they started with. I want to retire is a direction, not a goal. A real goal asks retire to what, at what age, with what kind of daily life. The path to a real goal looks completely different from the path to a vague one. And people who never define the destination spend decades optimizing for a target they never consciously chose. Mistake 4. Overspending on the wrong thing. Spending money feels good. Having new things feels good. The problem is that those feelings fade faster than people expect and faster than the purchases are paid off. Research consistently shows that people are poor predictors of what will actually make them happy in the future. They imagine the sunny days at the cottage, the perfect weekend on the boat. They underestimate the maintenance, the traffic, the obligation of owning one more thing that needs attention. Here is the more important finding. How you spend your time affects your happiness far more than what you own. People who value time over money report higher satisfaction, stronger relationships, and more meaningful daily lives. Every dollar spent today on something that does not genuinely improve your experience is a dollar that could have bought back time in the future. Suboptimal spending does not just cost money, it costs years of time freedom later. Mistake 5. Not taking enough investment risk. Risk sounds like something to avoid. In investing, avoiding the right kind of risk is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. Owning a globally diversified portfolio of stocks, not bonds, not cash, not target date funds that aggressively shift to bonds, has historically produced dramatically higher long-term returns. Here is what the math actually shows. To match the expected retirement outcome of someone who saved 10% of their income in a globally diversified stock portfolio, a person invested in a target date fund would need to save 16%. Someone in a 60-40 stock bond portfolio, 19%. Someone keeping money in a high-interest savings account, 57%. The investor taking the right risk gets to save 10%. Everyone else has to save 2 to 5 times more to reach the same place. Volatility is uncomfortable, but for a long-term investor who does not need the money tomorrow, volatility is not the real risk. The real risk is not being invested at all. Mistake 6. Taking the wrong kinds of risk. There is a critical difference between investing and gambling, and it is not about the size of the potential win. Investing has a positive expected return. The longer you stay in, the more likely you are to come out ahead. Gambling has a negative expected return. The longer you play, the more likely you are to lose. Picking individual stocks. Mistake 8. Ignoring estate planning. Without a proper estate plan, there are prescribed rules for how your assets are distributed when you die. Those rules are frequently at odds with what you would actually choose. An improper estate plan does not just create tax inefficiency, it creates confusion, delays, and real anguish for the people you love at the worst possible time. Estate planning is not a task for the wealthy or the old. It is a task for anyone who has people in their life they care about and any assets they want to go somewhere specific. Mistake 9. Marrying a financially incompatible partner. Research shows that people with opposite spending tendencies, one a natural saver, one a natural spender, are statistically more likely to end up together than people who are financially similar. The greater the difference in spending profiles between spouses, the more they fight about money and the more dissatisfied they report feeling in the marriage overall. Financial disagreements are already one of the strongest predictors of divorce, and divorce is financially devastating in ways that take years to recover from. The tightwad spendthrift tendency is stable over time. If the financial habits of someone you are considering committing to bother you now, they will bother you more later. Mistake 10. Underinsuring catastrophic risk. Insurance has a negative expected return by design. Insurance companies would not exist otherwise, but the right question is not whether insurance has a positive expected return. It is whether you could survive financially if the insured event actually happened. If you have people who depend on your income and you are not yet financially independent, life insurance is not optional. It is the thing that replaces your future earnings if you are gone. Disability insurance protects those same earnings if you cannot work. Nobody wants to think about death or permanent disability, but not thinking about them does not make them less likely. It just means the financial fallout lands on the people closest to you. 10 mistakes. Every single one avoidable with the right awareness and the right plan. The gap between the people who build wealth and the people who feel permanently behind is almost never income. It is almost always one or more of these 10 things operating quietly in the background, compounding in the wrong direction year after year. So here is the question worth sitting with. Of these 10 mistakes, which ones are already costing you money right now, and how long have you been letting them run?